Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're doing something really interesting, taking a journey into some ancient wisdom that honestly feels incredibly relevant right now.
Yeah, it really does.
Our mission really is to give you a kind of shortcut, a way to get truly well-informed about these core insights into, you know, human nature, well-being.
Hmm.
We're looking at these timeless texts, and they frame everything wisdom, how to live right using pairs, contrasting ideas, always two sides of the coin, you could say.
Right.
And our sources, just so you know, are some powerful excerpts from the Anguttara Nikaya. That's a collection of Buddhist scriptures famous for grouping things by number. We're focusing specifically on the twos.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these ancient teachings offer such a clear, timeless framework for understanding everything, really.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, wisdom versus folly, suffering, happiness.
Yeah.
By putting everything in these dualities, these pairs, they make some pretty complex ideas, well, incredibly accessible.
That makes sense.
So our goal is to pull out those really critical nuggets of knowledge, the things that can genuinely help you navigate your own choices, understand the world around you, just with more clarity.
That's a really crucial point, and it sets us up perfectly. So, okay, where do we start? What's one of the most, fundamental distinctions these texts make right away about how we act? How do they help us tell the difference between wise and foolish actions?
Well, they kick things off by talking about faults.
Yeah.
And they put them in two main categories.
Oh.
First, you've got faults where the consequences show up right here, in this present life.
Right now.
Exactly. And the texts, they paint a really vivid picture, almost shocking, you could say, to really drive it home. Like, imagine seeing a thief who's caught and then subjected to all sorts of royal punishments, flogging, having hands or feet cut off,
Now.
even being boiled in oil. It's intense.
It is brutal, yeah. But I guess it highlights a really basic principle. Our actions, especially the bad ones, they have direct, tangible consequences. It's like these ancient texts were setting up a really clear cause and effect ledger for how we behave.
Precisely. And the raw insight there isn't just about, ancient punishments. It's about the universal power of seeing immediate visible consequences. That's a deterrent.
Sure.
Think about today when we see swift justice or even just clear outcomes from actions. It reinforces certain behaviors, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But how often do we really connect our own actions to such clear, tangible outcomes? That's the question they seem to pose.
Right. Okay, so that's one category. Immediate consequences. What's the other?
So the second category of faults,
Yeah.
these are the ones that lead to consequences in the next life.
Okay. Longer term.
Much longer term. And they stem from bad conduct, body, speech, and mind. The warning is pretty stark. These actions lead to, well, miserable states, bad destinations, ruin, and hell.
So it really pushes the idea that our actions ripple outwards, far beyond the here and now.
Absolutely.
But then how do they actually define who's foolish or wise? Do they give us clear definitions?
They do, absolutely. And intriguingly, there's a section known as the Book of Fools within these scriptures, and it gives direct definitions.
The Book of Fools, really? Okay.
Yeah. It describes fools as people who carry burdens that haven't arrived yet, meaning they worry constantly about future stuff that might never happen, unnecessary things. And on the flip side, they don't carry the burdens that have arrived. They neglect their present responsibilities.
Right. Okay, we probably all know someone like that, right? Endlessly worrying about hypothetical disasters, but can't, get their present life sorted.
Exactly. These texts would basically say that's the essence of foolishness.
Right. What else defines a fool?
Well, they also consistently misperceive things. They see what's permissible as impermissible, or the other way around. They might see something that isn't really an offense as an offense, or vice versa. And crucially, they mistake what isn't Dhamma, truth or right conduct. They mistake that for Dhamma, or the opposite. And they see non-discipline as discipline.
Wow, so it's a fundamental confusion about reality almost.
You could say that. And the wise, well, they're just the opposite. They handle their present burdens, they don't stress about future ones unnecessarily, and they correctly discern all these crucial distinctions. Permissible, impermissible, offense, Dhamma, not Dhamma, discipline on discipline. So if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's not just about following abstract rules. It's really profoundly about clarity of perception and personal responsibility.
That makes sense. Clarity.
And that clarity also extends to the actions themselves. differentiating between what they call regrettable versus non-regrettable actions.
Okay, regrettable versus non-regrettable. How does that work?
Well, an action is regrettable if you've done bad things, body, speech, mind, and you haven't done good things. This, the text says, causes you to, like, burn with regret.
I think we can all relate to that feeling.
For sure. On the other hand, actions are non-regrettable when you have done good actions and you haven't done bad ones. And that naturally brings peace.
Simple but profound.
And the texts explain that our defilements, those inner pollutants like greed, hatred, delusion, they actually grow when we get this wrong, when we mistakenly identify what we should or shouldn't regret.
Ah, so misidentifying regret feeds the problem.
Exactly. And this leads straight into another pair, dark and bright qualities.
Dark and bright.
Yeah, the dark qualities are shamelessness, basically, a total lack of conscience and fearlessness of doing wrong, just not caring about the consequences.
Okay.
The bright qualities are the opposite, shame or conscience, and a healthy fear of wrongdoing, knowing that actions have effects.
Right.
And there's this fascinating line that says these two bright qualities actually protect the world.
Protect the world. How so?
Well, it suggests that without them, society would just descend into chaos. It says people would become like goats, sheep, chickens, pigs, dogs, and jackals, losing all respect for family roles, social roles, like mothers, aunts, teachers, wives.
Wow, that's a stark image, like society breaking down completely.
It really is. It sounds like, their version of a dog-eat-dog world if these fundamental qualities of conscience and fear of wrongdoing weren't there.
That's powerful. It really shows how our inner state connects directly to the social fabric. But, okay, recognizing these qualities is one thing. Actively cultivating them is something else. How do these teachings guide us on that, on the active pursuit of virtue?
Right, good question. They do lay out a path, and it starts with what they call the two exertions.
Two exertions.
One is the exertion of householders, lay people, and that's about providing practical support for monastics. Things like robes, food, lodging, medicine, basic needs.
Right, supporting the spiritual community.
Exactly. But the other exertion, which is actually highlighted as the foremost, the more important one, is the exertion of those who have gone forth from home to homelessness, the monastics themselves. Their exertion is to abandon all impediments.
Abandon all impediments. That sounds significant.
It really sets a high bar for inner work, for purification.
And speaking of a high bar, there's this one passage. It's incredibly inspiring. It's an example from the Buddha's own striving for enlightenment.
Oh yeah, that one's amazing.
It says he observed two key things in himself. First, a deep dissatisfaction with any unwholesome states arising in his mind. And second, an unwavering perseverance in striving.
Unwavering is the word.
Totally. This perseverance was so intense, the text literally says he was willing to strive even to the point where only skin, sinews, and bones remain in the body, and the flesh and blood dry up.
Just pushes through everything.
That incredible level of intense, focused effort,
Yeah.
That's what ultimately led to his enlightenment. It's quite a standard to aspire to.
Definitely. And building on that kind of effort, these texts then get into the inner tools you need for this cultivation.
Yeah.
They highlight two powers.
Two powers. Okay, what are they?
The first is the power of reflection by Sakhanabala.
Reflection.
Yeah. This is the ability to see clearly, to really understand that bad actions, body, speech, mind, they have negative consequences. Not just maybe, but definitely. In this life and in the next.
Seeing that cause and effect directly.
Exactly. And seeing it clearly leads you to abandon those bad actions and instead cultivate good ones. It's that direct, clear-eyed understanding.
Okay, that makes sense. Power of reflection. What's the second power?
The second is the power of development, bhavanabala.
Development.
Right. For someone training spiritually, this means actively working to abandon those defilements we mentioned earlier, greed, hatred, delusion, getting rid of them.
Okay.
And it also involves actively cultivating positive qualities, specifically what are known as the 7 factors of enlightenment.
7 factors, like what?
They're essentially tools for spiritual growth. Things like mindfulness, the ability to investigate your mental states, sustained energy or effort, joy, tranquility, focused concentration, and equanimity, that balanced state of mind.
Wow. That's a comprehensive toolkit.
It really is. And this power of development can even lead to deeper meditative states called jhanas. But crucially, the texts connect all this directly to that fundamental pair, tranquility and insight, samatha and vipassana.
Ah, tranquility and insight. We hear those terms a lot. How do they fit in here?
Well, tranquility, samatha, that comes from developing the mind, calming it down, And its main result is abandoning lust or craving.
Okay, calm mind, less craving.
Right. An insight vipassana that comes from developing wisdom, seeing things as they really are. And its main result is abandoning ignorance.
Wisdom cuts through ignorance.
Exactly. So you get liberation of the mind by abandoning lust, and liberation through wisdom by abandoning ignorance. It's this beautiful, balanced approach. You need both.
That's a really powerful connection between that inner work, the powers, tranquility, insight, and ultimate liberation. But, it makes me wonder, are there common mistakes or blind spots that stop us seeing these things clearly, especially when it comes to, like, judging other people or how we act in groups? How did these texts help us build, right relations for harmony, personally and in the community?
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly where the texts go next into our interactions, how we relate to others.
Okay.
One section talks about difficult to find individuals, people who are rare.
Difficult to find? Like who?
It names two types. One is a benefactor, meaning someone who does good for others first without necessarily expecting anything back.
Proactive kindness.
Exactly. And the other is someone who is grateful and repays gratitude, someone who acknowledges and returns kindness.
Yeah, you can see how both of those might feel rare sometimes in the world today.
Definitely. And then there's this really profound teaching about repaying parents. It's quite striking.
Repaying parents, what does it say?
It says, even if you carried your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other for 100 years,
Wow.
attending to all their needs, bathing them, feeding them, and even if you made them rulers of the entire earth with all its riches,
That still wouldn't be enough.
still not enough repayment, according to this text.
So what is enough? How do you truly repay them?
The true repayment, it says, is spiritual. It's establishing them in faith, morality, generosity, and wisdom.
So it shifts the focus completely, not material care, but helping their spiritual well-being.
Precisely. It's a radical reframing of duty and gratitude.
That really is. And speaking of reframing, didn't you mention something about redefining old and young?
Yes. Also in this section, it's fascinating. It says someone could be 80, 90, even 100 years old, but if they're still caught up in indulging sensual pleasures, chasing after things, they're still considered foolish, like young in wisdom, immature.
Regardless of their physical age.
Right. But then someone who is young, black hair, prime of life, if they don't indulge senselessly, if they practice restraint and cultivate virtue, they're considered wise, an elder in wisdom.
So age is about inner development, not just years lived.
Exactly. It flips the conventional view on its head. It's all about that inner quality.
That's a really interesting redefinition. But okay, if wisdom is defined like that, what's the wise way to approach judging others based on these ideas?
That's a great connection.
Yeah.
Because these insights apply directly to how we perceive and judge people. The texts are very clear.
How so?
Fools, it says, will praise someone who's actually blameworthy, or they'll blame someone who's actually praiseworthy.
Yeah.
But the key is they do it without investigating.
Jumping to conclusions.
Exactly. And they'll also show faith in something that's not really inspiring, or they'll lack faith in something that is inspiring, again, without investigating, just based on hearsay or superficial appearances.
We see that all the time, don't we?
All the time. The wise, on the other hand, only offer praise or blame, and they only place their faith or skepticism after they've investigated, after considering things thoroughly.
So it emphasizes critical thinking. Due diligence before forming an opinion or making a judgment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't just react, investigate.
That's valuable advice. What else did they say about relationships and groups? You mentioned quarrels earlier.
Yes, the wisdom continues right into the causes of quarrels. And it makes an interesting distinction.
Okay.
Among lay people, regular folks, royalty, Brahmins, householders, quarrels tend to arise from obsessive attachment to sensual pleasures, fighting over resources, status, enjoyment.
Material things, desires.
Right. But among monastics, the source of conflict is different. Quarrels there tend to arise from obsessive attachment to views.
Attachment to ideas, beliefs, doctrines.
Exactly. Different motivations, sensual pleasure versus intellectual positions, but both leading to similar disharmony and conflict. It's quite insightful.
It really is. Different paths to the same problem.
And then there's this truly fascinating little story, an anecdote. It says that even 10, 20, maybe up to 60 deities could stand together in a space the size of a needle's tip without crowding or bothering each other at all.
60 deities on a needle tip. How?
Because it says their minds were serene, Santindriya Bhavisama Santamanasa. Their inner state was so calm and peaceful.
So it's illustrating the power of inner tranquility for harmonious coexistence. even in like the most extreme close quarters.
That's exactly the point. If the mind is serene, external conditions like crowding become irrelevant to harmony. It's a powerful metaphor for how inner peace translates to outer peace.
Wow. Okay, and you also mentioned different types of communities or assemblies.
Yes, finally, these texts give this really comprehensive breakdown of different kinds of groups or communities, always presented in these pairs, contrasting types.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, so you have shallow versus profound assemblies. The shallow ones are restless, talkative, easily distracted. The profound ones are mindful, focused, restrained. Then divided versus harmonious. Divided ones are full of arguments, verbal fighting. Harmonious ones have unity, joy, people looking at each other with loving eyes, mixing easily like milk and water.
It's a lovely image, milk and water.
Isn't it? Then undeveloped versus developed. This depends on the elders. Are they lazy, uninspired, setting a bad example? Or are they diligent, striving, inspiring the younger members to follow?
Leadership matters.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Ignoble versus noble. This is defined by whether the group understands the Four Noble Truths, suffering, its cause, its end, the path, or not. Basic Buddhist principles.
okay.
Corrupt versus pure. Depends on whether members act out of bias, desire, aversion, delusion, fear, or if they act impartially.
Bias corrupts the group.
Exactly. Then, trained by praise versus trained by inquiry. It's interesting. Does the group prefer easy, feel-good teachings from others, maybe poetic but superficial? Or do they value digging deep into profound, original teachings, actively questioning, clarifying, resolving doubts?
Depth versus surface appeal.
Right. And finally, material-oriented versus Dhamma-oriented. Does the group prioritize getting stuff from lay supporters, maybe using flattery, or do they truly value the Dhamma, the teachings themselves, and use material things without attachment?
So in all these pairs.
In every single one, the text makes it clear, the second type of assembly, the profound, harmonious, developed, noble, pure, inquiry-based, and Dhamma-oriented, is always considered superior. It's a clear blueprint for a healthy spiritual community.
That's an incredibly insightful way to categorize groups. It shows how deeply they thought about social dynamics even back then. And, listening to that last pair, material-oriented versus Dhamma-oriented, it brings us back to a theme that seems to run through so many of these texts. This idea of the ultimate value of Dhamma, the teaching over purely material things.
It's absolutely a recurring drumbeat. You see it pop up again and again in different contexts within these twos.
Can you give some more examples of that contrast?
Sure. They compare material giving versus the gift of Dhamma. The gift of truth is superior.
Oh.
Material offerings or sacrifices versus Dhamma offerings. Again, Dhamma wins. Material enjoyments or sharing possessions versus the enjoyment and sharing of Dhamma.
Dhamma's better.
Always.
Yeah.
Material support or compassion versus the support and compassion of Dhamma. Material intercourse or hospitality versus Dhamma-based interactions, seeking material things versus seeking Dhamma, worship with material things versus Dhamma homage, material powers versus Dhamma-based powers, material growth, treasures, accumulations, abundance versus the growth, treasure, accumulation, and abundance of Dhamma.
Wow, it's incredibly consistent across the board. In every single pairing, the Dhamma aspect is presented as higher, more valuable.
Every single time. It's emphatic.
So this raises that important question again. What's the so what here? Are they just saying material life is bad?
No, I don't think it's a flat rejection of material life entirely. It's more a profound reprioritization.
Okay, reprioritization. How so?
It's a constant reminder, a statement about where lasting satisfaction, real value, and ultimate liberation actually come from.
Not from the external stuff.
Right. In a world, then and now, that's often chasing external metrics, wealth, possessions, status, this ancient wisdom challenges us. It challenges you to ask, what am I building my happiness on? Is it sand or is it bedrock? What are we truly prioritizing in our own lives? Is it the fleeting, the material, or is it the fundamental, the spiritual understanding? Time and again, in every single one of these pairings we've looked at, the wisdom of the Dhamma points inwards, towards the spiritual, the internal, towards understanding truth as inherently more valuable, more conducive to real well-being than just relying on external, chaining, material things. Yeah. It's a consistent, unwavering message.
Wow. Okay, we have really covered some incredible ground today, haven't we?
We really have.
This whole deep dive into these ancient texts, these twos, it's shown us, I think, that this wisdom provides a remarkably detailed roadmap for navigating life, basically, helping us tell the difference between what creates suffering and what actually leads to peace. We've gone from understanding our own inner landscape, actions, consequences, foolishness, wisdom, to the path of really intense personal cultivation, and then outwards again, to how we foster harmony in our families, our communities. And through it all, these recurring themes just keep coming up. Clarity of perception, acting responsibly, inner work, good relationships, and always, always elevating spiritual values over just the material. It's undeniable.
So thinking about all this,
Yeah.
what does it mean for you listening right now? I'd invite you to just consider which pair from everything we talked about today resonates most strongly. Which one hits home for you in your own life, or maybe with challenges you're facing currently?
Hmm.
Is it the difference between the fool and the wise? Regrettable versus non-regrettable actions? Maybe the power of reflection versus development? Or tranquility versus insight? Dark versus bright qualities?
Lots to reflect on.
Definitely. And maybe here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. If knowing these simple fundamental twos can actually illuminate so much about our experience, about well-being, what other hidden dualities, what other contrasting pairs might you discover if you start looking really closely at your own life, your own choices?
That's a great question to ponder.
Keep that curiosity alive. Keep digging. There's always more to understand.